When I was a kid, I had these friends, and we were freaking geniuses. Let me tell you, we were a couple of Rebscallions, I guess is a good word for what we were. But one weekend, we decided to get really, really focused on lighting things on fire. And the whole weekend started out like this. It's Friday night, you're in the middle of nowhere. Normally, you throw rocks at a streetlight. That's the type of town I lived in growing up. I don't know where you live, but where I lived, we had rocks, we had streetlights. I don't know. Sometimes we take Legos and we build Lego structures in the middle of the road to watch cars hit them. Stuff like that. I mean, what else are you going to do? Never caused an accident, never hurt anybody, okay? Take a deep breath, all right? Well, my friends and I got this brilliant idea. What if we were to combine sword fighting and fire? What a genius idea. I mean, you can't make this up, the level of stupidity that we had. I mean, it's astonishing. So, what do? We take newspaper, we roll it up into swords, we light it on fire, and whoever gets theirs out first on the other person wins. Now, as you can imagine, when you're in your teenage years and you have practically zero parental supervision and you can do stupidity with steroids, that's what we would do. Stuff like this. And fortunately, nobody ended up burning somebody's eye out. Nobody ended up being lit on fire. Even though the problem with being young and dumb and not having any boundaries is that when the internet becomes prominent, I mean, this is back in like the freaking mid 90s or something like that, later 90s. And my brother, maybe even early 2000s, it's very difficult for me to remember the time frames in my memories. He had done a little research. You see, what I didn't know is that he had found a way to make napalm. Now, he was putting a little bit of it on the newspaper, so it burned for a while, all rolled up, still burned, no problem. Thank goodness none of that crap like got onto somebody and just burned a hole in them or whatever. I mean, I don't even know what happened. But after we had the sword fight experience, which by the way, no one noticed. I mean, literally nobody noticed. Neither of my parents noticed. We're outside for 10 o'clock at night hitting each other with, you know, newspaper that's on fire. I mean, goodness gracious. Nobody got in trouble. It was like it never happened. I guess that's what you call country living. Anyways, so then what ends up happening is my mom the next day had to take the dog into the veterinarian to get looked at. Now, I'm uncertain why she had to take the dog in or whatever. And so now we really are unsupervised. This is where we start doing things like jumping off the 2-story house roof after finding a ladder onto the trampoline. I mean, it's a miracle I didn't break every bone in my body as a kid. Let me tell you, it is a stand up, miraculous experience. I do have some couple broken bones, but did not break them all. Somehow I made it. And still can walk, but my left leg does hurt when the seasons change. Got a titanium rod in that one. We'll get into that story. It'll be another story for another day. But my friends got this brilliant idea. And we're all inside playing video games, doing all this stuff. And I realized I hadn't seen him in a minute because we were taking turns on this one computer game. And I go outside and they had lit a dead animal on fire in the road. Now, if they had lit a dead animal on fire in the road, just as my mother left, probably she wouldn't have even noticed it. But they took napalm and they lit a dead animal in the middle of the road about an hour and a half after my mother left. Veterinarian's about 15 minutes, 20 minutes away. So, unfortunately, my mother ended up seeing the dead animal that they had lit in the road after about 15 minutes. And I was screaming at these guys, you got to get it out. You got to get it out. We're all going to get killed. And we tried, but you ain't, when you do that napalm stuff, man, that stuff burn forever. I mean, it's just going to burn. It's just the way it is. And I remember my mother, when she came home, see, us rednecks, we don't believe in driveways. We believe in a thing called the grass. And so you drive up the grass, okay? You park the car in the grass. Parking in the driveway is for city folk. Us rednecks, we park in the grass, man. That's how you roll. Anyways, I remember she came into the grass a bit swifter than normal. And as she skidded to a halt in front of the house, and I'm watching the grass now fly up in the air, there's a nice little tread mark left behind. She was screaming at the top of her lungs, Paul, Andrew, get out here, my brother and I. And, Andrew was upstairs playing some different video games or whatever he was doing. But my mother was losing her mind. And I remember my two buddies they heard it and they were on the other side of the house. Boom, they're gone into the woods, man. These guys are hiding. I mean, we're talking like you got to hide from the wrath of my mother because it's not going to go well. I'm telling you that much. It didn't matter if you were her kid or not. It is not going well. And one of the funniest sights I can remember in my childhood is trying to watch my mother put out that dead animal that was burning in the road. I mean, I don't know. She kept throwing water on it. It's like, dude, this stuff just keeps burning. You ain't going to get it until it's burned out. And, man, I didn't see my two friends. It must have been like half a day. I had no idea where they went. They must have gone into the deep jungle because they were trying to hide. Because they didn't want to be whooped. Because they knew that my mother was aggressive. But they'd always gotten away with the little things, and they didn't understand what happened to us when they left. That's the big problem. I don't know if you ever got a whooping because your best friends were doing something stupid at your house, but I have received plenty, okay? Maybe I've received enough for all of us. And I'll tell you, these two knuckleheads came back. I think that they were throwing rocks at the window. And if I remember correctly, it was just super late at like 1, 2, something in the morning. And they were hungry or whatnot. And then what's crazy is the setup is for me to get the whooping. Paul, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I didn't even do this. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I did it. Somebody's got to get it. That's the way it was in my house. Usually it was me. I was the one that usually won the prize, shall we say. These two knuckleheads come out of the woods, finally, throwing rocks at the window, and let them inside. And what's crazy is it was never talked about ever again. Like, that's just, like, so many things like this happened in my life where it was like as soon as the next day arrived, everything before that just disappeared. It's just like it never happened, which is pretty nutty. You know what I mean? And I don't remember them getting disciplined. I don't remember their parents knowing nothing. I mean, I don't even think anything happened, And it was just a wild one, man. The way that we lived, out there in the country, man. Lunatics. Lunatics, these kids were. What brilliant idea. Like I said, if they had lit the thing on fire just as my mother was up the road, no problem. There's just been, a couple ashes over there or whatever. Everything would have been groovy. And she wouldn't have even noticed. But they decided, hey, man, we got to light this thing up just before she gets home. And so I guess the moral of the story is if you're going to light something on fire, make sure you do it when your parents just leave. Or how about you never light anything on fire? I would not recommend lighting newspaper on fire and sword fighting it with it. That is called stupid. Okay. As a grown adult, I recognize that as DUMB. You hit somebody in the head, and boom, now they're getting burned in their eye. I don't know. Just so much. Like, I think the saddest part of this whole story is that I grew up with like an animal without any boundaries. And unfortunately, that really affected me from 18 on because I didn't have the ability to think logically through things to go, that's a dumb idea. I mean, I guess I did have the ability to, but I would just send it. Full send, man. Let's do this thing. And things like that happen all the time when I was a kid. I got infinite stories of the dumb things we did. Maybe I'll make that part of the staple of the levity of this channel. With all this heavy stuff I got to talk about from my past. And I mean, the real reason I want to talk about it is because there are so many kids out there that have gone through things like I've gone through, and I want to provide a lifeline to them. I want to say, hey, man, like, you don't have to go your own way. You don't have to be the product of what you grew up with. You can make different decisions, and you can build a very different life. And I mean, if I could reach some people with that message and help them be able to identify the different parts in their life where moments in time have been broken, man, what a great thing to be able to do. That's the entire purpose of this, is to be able to serve. But I figure when we're talking about all the stuff that I got to talk about, it's good to throw a couple stories in here that are a little bit lighter. They got a little bit of a comedic reality to them. And I don't think we ever did napalm again. At least not around my parents. We would we get tires. We light tires on fire back when I was a kid with that napalm stuff, and it burned forever. It's terrible and would stink. And then eventually they outlawed that in New York State, which is probably a good thing, to be honest, because we didn't help the ozone much when I was a kid. Just, you're just doing what you're doing. We didn't have much oversight. And I think that's why all my buddies like to hang out at our house, because it was a free for all, man. It was a free for all. Had a bunch of land, did whatever the heck you wanted to do on it. You want to go shoot guns? Let's go shoot guns. You want to do paintball? Let's do paintball. You want to blow stuff up? Let's blow stuff up. Man, what a crazy life I have led. That's another story I can tell about blowing stuff up. I think that's another story for another day, because it's going to be a long one. But these are the things in my life that I wish I had. Man, if I had boundaries and I had parents that kind of reined me in and paid attention to me and made sure that I was focused on the right things, I'd be so much further in life. It'd be absurd how much further I'd been. Like, how to plan your life. I never planned nothing. Everything I've done most of my life, I've just taken the next step that was in front of me. I didn't have no 5-year plan. I didn't have any idea whatsoever. I mean, even this YouTube channel, I'm just sending it, man. I'm just sharing exactly what I experienced. I don't do no notes. I ain't doing any research. I literally write down the name of the thing that I remember and then just talk about it. And maybe that's a gift from the way that I grew up, because I can just sit here and talk forever about the things that I remember. And I don't need any notes. I just send it. And it's the same thing for me on stage. I usually, whenever I'm speaking, I don't have any notes. I just send it. And I guess that's the gift of chaos. If you can find a way to order the chaos that's unique to you, you can certainly connect with people through that.